There's a moment when you hear an old familiar phrase that transports you straight back to a 1960s living room. You can almost picture the patterned carpet, the gentle hum of the television, and a parent calling out a reminder that every child knew by heart. Or perhaps it's a school corridor, you remember, echoing with playful teasing as friends repeated the same sayings heard in homes across the country. Though Britain has changed in ways no one back then could have imagined, these phrases remain tucked inside our memories, ready to surface the instant someone speaks them again, guiding us gently into the past. What stands out about growing up in 1960s Britain is how much guidance came through everyday speech. Long before modern reminders and digital prompts, it was the gentle rhythm of familiar sayings that shaped a child's world. Families used them to teach good manners, teachers relied on them to keep order, and neighbors repeated them with a mix of humor and quiet expectation. These phrases formed an unspoken rulebook, instantly understood by every child, no matter where they lived. Hear one today, and you're taken back to patterned wallpaper, polished school floors, and the steady shuffle of pupils lining up after assembly. Each saying carried a lesson, but also a warmth that made it memorable. They helped build resilience, encouraged kindness, and offered a sense of structure in a world that felt both simple and secure. And it's within that shared script of childhood that the most treasured phrases still live, waiting to be recalled. Every childhood in 1960s Britain was stitched together with familiar sayings, each one carrying its own small lesson. The first was "Mind your manners," spoken in living rooms and busy kitchens, reminding children to slow down, look up, and show respect. Then came the winter favorite, "Don't let the draft in." Were you born in a barn? Usually shouted as a back garden gate banged against the frame. If you can't say something nice, say nothing at all drifted through school corridors, offering a gentle rule for kindness long before the idea was written on posters. There was also the unmistakable warning, "I'll not tell you again," a phrase that made every child freeze mid-step. Right behind it came the practical truth. Money doesn't grow on trees, often heard when pocket money ran thin. Some sayings were more playful, like "Take your time, but hurry up," always delivered with a knowing smile. Others carried quiet reassurance, such as "It'll all come out in the wash," a promise that small troubles would fade. Were you raised in a field? Had the same energy as the barn line, a nudge to close doors and tidy up. Yuri, getting too big for your boots arrived whenever a child tested their confidence a little too boldly. Ask nicely and you'll get further echoed through playgrounds, teaching diplomacy before any of us knew the word. Then there was the firm favorite, "Don't make a song and dance about it," gently reminding children to keep things simple. Some sayings appeared at mealtimes, like "Your eyes are bigger than your belly," spoken as plates were filled with more than could be eaten. Others appeared on chilly mornings, such as "You'll catch the cold if you don't wrap up," as scarves were pulled tight. And who could forget "Be back before dark," a rule wrapped in care, guiding children between freedom and safety. Each phrase held its own rhythm, its own place in the soundtrack of childhood. They traveled from homes to playgrounds, from school halls to quiet streets, linking children across the entire country. And as we look back today, these sayings feel less like instructions and more like memories gently rising, ready to lead us to the next moment of reflection. They remind us how language shaped life and the way we learned to understand one another, forming bonds that still linger warmly today for us. What lingers about these sayings isn't simply the words themselves, but the care woven into them. They came from a generation that believed courtesy mattered, that effort counted, and that communities were built through small, everyday reminders. Each phrase set gentle boundaries, shaping character in ways we often didn't recognize at the time. Yet they also carried humor and warmth, turning ordinary moments into shared family memories. Hearing them now feels like opening a window into the past, letting familiar voices drift back in. And as those echoes return, they remind us how deeply these simple sayings settled into who we became, guiding us naturally toward the final reflection. Communication may now race through quick messages and instant replies, but those old sayings still hold a warmth that modern phrases rarely match. Their wisdom feels timeless, grounded in care and everyday experience. So, which one stayed with you? Share the sayings you remember and help keep this gentle piece of our shared past alive. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.